previously on Hausenberg Films. Fight Club, Tyler Durden in the building. In all seriousness, Fight Club actually means a lot to me as a movie. It's not just like amazingly well done with incredible acting, but the movie, like, I discovered it at such an important moment in my life. Oh no! No! Sausage Party, no! Leave him alone. Let him get back in. No! If you win, no! That is just no. I promised you guys a review of Sausage Party, and I am a man of my word, but for some reason, I also feel compelled to rank each character by which one I would most like to procreate with, and which ones I would rather feed to my cat. So I have my tier list ready and waiting, with hot dog tier being for the characters that make my sausage swell, and the floppy wiener tier for, well, you get the idea. So let's talk about this movie that I was so excited to watch again. And we'll pause every time there's a new piece of meat to objectify.
I promise to be a good taco.
Our first group of anthropomorphic food characters are, technically speaking, hot dogs. We got Frank on the right, Carl on the left, and Barry in the middle. Carl isn't an important character, and Barry is my dad's name, so there's no way they're going to be classified under hot dogs, as I'm feeling nothing in my pants except for a sad flop. Frank is played by Seth Rogen, who used to be chill, but now is insufferable. And this Frank character doesn't really deviate from common Seth Rogenisms, like, dude, my weed, dude, she's hot, and such. Frank is going to be light mayo tier for me, just purely because I like Seth's older films, and Frank being the protagonist gives him a certain level of appeal, I guess. These hot dogs are all excited, because today might be the day they get picked up and paired with some buns.
By this time tomorrow, we're all gonna be 5 inches deep in some buns, son.
More like 3 inches deep for Barry, you deformed nerd.
This movie starts off well. The comedy's pretty good. The concept, while not exactly original, is an amazing idea for an animated comedy. A well-produced comedy, and not whatever Food Fight was trying to be.
I am so excited to...
The opening song is clever, kinda catchy, and is the perfect way to deliver the premise of the story to the audience.
Take us to the great beyond,
where we're sure nothing bad happens to
once we're out the sliding doors.
Basically, the song describes how all food longs for the day they get chosen by the humans, aka gods, and they get to go into the great beyond, which is basically their version of heaven, I guess. A baritone corn on the cob leads the song.
Dear gods, you're so divine in each and every way. To you we pray.
And while I am going to rank him, I'm not going to rank all of the food here. Mainly just focusing on the food who the main cast interact with, plus any other character that I think would be funny to rank. Now, while Corn does have a soothing voice, I am absolutely certain those hard kernels would tear me up inside. And that's a fitting descriptor of a dry rub, if ever I've seen one. The song includes a lot of insensitive jokes.
We'll shove the Mentos up our ass by Zeus.
We'll exterminate the Jews.
It is funny though. I've personally never tried sauerkraut, and I'm not really convinced that I want to. He kinda seems like a big old meanie who does mean things. It's floppy wiener time for sauerkraut. In the story, we're introduced to the idea that there exists a place where expired food goes to, and that becomes relevant later on. I've included this particular clip because it contains dialogue that highlights the biggest issue that I have with this movie.
Yeah, fuck you, weenies. Fuck, I hate this fucking job!
The excessive, needless cursing. Now I'm a big boy. I wear my Fortnite boxers just like any mature adult, so I can handle cursing. But I'm also a big believer in comedy not relying on cursing to be funny. There are so many times in this movie where the cursing adds no comedic value.
Excuse me, I meant to buy normal mustard, and when I got home, I realized I bought honey mustard. Is it cool if I just go swap it?
I don't give a flying fuck, homeboy.
Anyway, Frank gets pumped at the idea that he might be paired up with his love interest hot dog bun, Brenda. She might not look like much inside the package, but later on we get a grand tour of her assets. And you know what? For a beige bun, she's dragging a decent wagon. And she's sending heavy signals with that red lipstick. So she's no doubt a hot dog. A jar of honey mustard gets returned to the shop, and he's traumatized by the reality of what awaits in the great beyond.
I'm so up. Get the f off of me! Nobody fucking touch me!
But he gets threatened into silence by a character we're going to talk about later. Honey Mustard's freaking out, causes a shopping cart to crash. I really don't like whining drama queens who just drag people's vibes down. But then again, I do like how Honey Mustard tastes. So we're looking at a pump and dump situation here, which places him in the mild salsa tier.
I'm a mushroom. Are you there?
This right here is my favourite scene in the whole movie. I'm not entirely sure on which movie it's parodying, possibly Saving Private Ryan? But the point is, all of this food is acting like wounded soldiers, and it's a very creative joke. I got a good laugh out of peanut butter feeling empty without jam. Well, I've got something to jam in you and make you feel less empty. My love and affection. No kidding, if I wasn't already married, I would promise my life to a jar of peanut butter. That's hot dog tier dedication right there. So an actual douche is a character in this, and he was looking forward to being all up in this woman's baby cave. But now he's out of the box and damaged, and he's looking for someone's ass to kick.
I'm gonna kick your ass. How you like them apples?
Who, us?
No, not you.
Oh man, that voice. Those of you familiar with Big Mouth will know this voice as Nick Kroll, who's responsible for such abrasive voices as Lola Scumpy. Oh.
Uh-oh, Your Majesty. There's like so much dirt under my fingernails from all that digging.
Well,
Douche as a character is funny in concept. It's just the voice they decided to go with here. It makes me cringe anytime he talks. However, this next scene where Douche needs to replenish his liquid and finds a vulnerable juice box is both highly disturbing and shockingly hilarious.
This is some next level shit, though. You like that?
As horrible as this scene is, it do be making me thirsty. But I'm a gentleman who asks permission, so if you consent, juice box, I'd like to rank you as warm buns. Tagging along with Frank and Brenda is a Lavash and a Bagel, and they're enemies for reasons that I won't explain, as this video is already going to be a nightmare to monetize. Lavash is a bit too floppy for my liking, and I'm not familiar with his kind, and I just can't handle anything that I'm not familiar with. So Lavash goes in floppy wiener tier, and Bagel is a nicer character, who's played by Edward Norton, who I massively simp for. And, you know, there is a hole here, so, you know, it's just kind of inviting, right? Hot dog tier you are, my friend. Frank splits with the group to talk with Firewater, the Native American drink that threatened Honey Mustard earlier, and he allows Frank to see the truth, but he must prepare by smoking weed because Seth Rogen movie. Within this truth circle, we have the main man, Firewater, and I'm not really feeling him. But I bet throwing your tent pole in his teepee would provide you with a hallucinogenic vision of the future, which would be life-changing and definitely worth the pain of having to look at this ugly mug. Firewater has got to be a dry rub tier. On his left, we have Grits, where the box says soul, but he's kind of grumpy. So I imagine he'd probably just complain about my cracker ass the entire time.
Fuck crackers. I'ma f them crackers right in the crack of they cracker asses. Cracker ass crackers.
Yeah, feeling pretty floppy right now. On the right, we have Twink. Not really a fan of Twinks. I do enjoy Twinkies, however, but I remember watching Brutal Moose recreate the Twinkie wiener sandwich, and it makes me feel like my wiener doesn't really belong anywhere near a Twinkie.
And we're gonna stick the wiener into the Twinkie hole. Just like this. I might have to censor this. I'm not totally sure.
So for this reason, Twink also belongs in floppy wiener tier. A tequila bottle convinces the gang that Frank has run off somewhere else. I don't quite understand why they would trust tequila and decide not to just pop their head into the tent themselves to check whether Frank is still there or not. But whatever, it moves the story along. Cicada lures the gang to a bar and tells them to wait, but a nearby taco overhears the conversation and catches Brenda's tempting buns, so she decides to warn them that this is a trap and that Douche is on his way. Taco sneaks them out the back, and Douche gets even more angry and juiced up.
No way! Jose!
Yes way. Jose's fucking dead, yo.
Cicada was kind of a puss boy here, and I've never tried any Cicada that I actually liked, but I am willing to keep trying, as it's the kind of drink I want to like. It's got that manly status behind it. Maybe I need to try one with the actual worm in the bottle, just so I can prove how big my huevos are. Gonna keep an open mind for tequila, and I'll place it in light mayo tier. Taco struggles to fight her urges seeing Brenda's buns bounce around, and this adds points towards Taco's tier placement.
Ay, Santa Chimichanga. I promise to be a good taco.
Well, I can't and won't promise to be a good taco. I'm placing my meat right inside of you. And that's not as bad as it sounds. She's a taco. Calm down. In the quote-unquote Great Beyond, Barry realises the brutal truth as to what happens to food, and he escapes the house to find his way back home. He runs into some pretty grim characters, most notably Johnny the used condom.
Then they went inside me and then... Spooge!
No way am I taking sloppy seconds. I have one rule in life. If it looks sloppy, I'm floppy. Barry sees a guy with a grocery bag from his store and hops a ride hoping that it will be his ticket home. But he ends up in the guy's house watching him get high on bath salts, which is a clever way to get the human interacting with the food. And this plays a part later on in the movie.
Are you some kind of magical sausage?
I'm just Barry.
In this guy's house, Barry befriends more food, with one guy being the standout joke. Well, not so much standout, but a joke that I'm sure doesn't sit well. Well, it does nothing but sit. Oh, screw it, it's Stephen Hawkins' gum. It's very offensive, it isn't right, but I laughed. Gum helps form a plan that will get everyone home. The human exposes his weakness to be bath salts, which is how Barry ended up with the guy's severed head. And Gum helps prepare bath salt tipped arrows to fire at all the humans and send them loopy, as this will put them into a state where they can see the food, freaking them out at the idea of the food they eat being living beings with personalities. Gum is pretty important to the story, and he's smart and most importantly malleable, which allows me to easily remold this guy into a gel-shaped Gum. And maybe I'll just close my eyes and ears before diving in. Gum has warm bun vibes going on here. With all the humans freaking out, the food starts striking back. We got Mentos emptying his load in this fat dude's mouth, and then Sergeant Fizz adds the reacting agent, which makes him explode everywhere. Geronimins would at least leave you with a fresh breath or bumhole after you're done with your activities. So he's at least a mild salsa tier. And Sergeant Fizz doesn't look good for your health, but I'd probably carry on consuming him anyway. So he also belongs in the mild salsa tier. Douche dies being blown up while wedged up some guy's poop chute, and I've just realised I never ranked him. He's without a doubt a floppy time. His voice is something I could never stomach.
I sucked a juicy box's dick, and I'm shoved up a god's asshole, and this is the weirdest thing that I've done so far, bro!
With the food victorious, they all celebrate by having a massive food pile-up. Yeah, that's the only monetizable way I could describe what's happening here. I definitely can't show you it. If you haven't seen it, let's just say it's a no limits, no strings attached kind of party where you can be as creatively depraved as you want to be with whoever you want. And that's the end of the movie. Well, goddamn. This video actually turned out to be quite fun to make. I'm sorry I reacted so poorly to your movie suggestion, Melwin Branart. Your suggestion really scared me at first, but this turned out to be a blast to make, and I hope you guys watching are done throwing up to maybe allow you to hit the like button for me. That would mean a lot. While I show you my list of current Patreon basement buddies who all automatically qualify for hot dog tier, maybe think about what other movies I could turn into a tier list. And if you have any suggestions, I'd be glad to hear them. Once again, thanks for watching, and if you preferred this comedic type episode, maybe watch my Guns Akimbo coverage on screen here. I believe I was pretty funny in that one, and based on its popularity, people seem to like it.